Did Luigi Mangione do it?
Healthcare CEO was going to be right here
Dead
at this
ass?
exact
How?
moment. I feel like this is a question that's been overlooked with people being too caught up with why something like this would happen and the potential motive of the perpetrator. And from the day it happened, this frame became one of the most infamous in American history. It was actually taken, supposedly, as the man on screen flirted with a woman at the front desk of a New York City hostel when she asked to see his pretty smile.
I don't
The
know, bro.
FBI claimed that this is Luigi Mangione, a man whose family got wealthy dealing in healthcare. He has since become an
Wait, what?
interesting
What?
a man whose
I would assume he was Italian, but what ethnicity is this? Like, I don't think this is like Italian garb. So,
family got wealthy dealing in healthcare.
yeah, I heard they like ran a bunch of
This is Luigi
what's it
Mangione thing and
called?
controversial
Retirement homes or
figure in
whatever.
popular culture. Even because
So your friend harassed. Wait, hold on. Okay, it's a small place where I live, so people know each other. So my friend harassed the dude, and the dude thought it was
becoming
me.
a folk hero to people who can't afford
So you and your friend live the
medical
same?
care, while ironically being a wealthy Ivy
Wait, what do you mean your friend harassed him?
League university graduate. But the question remains, how did the
How
shooter
did he
know exactly
harass
where
him?
to be and when to be there? So, Brian Thompson, the CEO, had flown in from Minnesota for the annual meeting between United Healthcare and its investors. This is not exactly a public event that the average person in Manhattan would know the time and day of. But I took into consideration that this conference has been in New York every year, at least since 2022, and it always started at the same time, 8 a.m. But they don't usually say the exact location of the meeting. It simply states that it will
Some
be held in
hitman
New
shit.
York. This infamous video was taken right as Thompson was approaching the New York Hilton Midtown
So he started
Hotel,
running
which
at
was the
me.
hotel that hosted the meeting. So how did the shooter know that Brian was going to be right here an hour and 15 minutes before the meeting started? When Luigi was arrested, he was carrying a
So my
3D
friend was
printed
making
pistol
fun of
with a
him and
3D
said
printed
with
silencer,
his
and he
friends.
was almost 300 miles away from the crime scene when he was caught. But his arrest only raises more questions. According to the police in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where he was
I didn't make
arrested,
fun of him
Luigi
because
Mangione,
I'm
a
not on
man
that.
that graduated as the valedictorian of a nearly $40,000 a year private school
Damn.
and
Valedictorian.
they graduated as the valedictorian of a nearly $40,000 a year private
This an
school
all boys
before
school?
earning a bachelor's in computer engineering as well as his master's made it
This is
a
UPenn?
private school before earning a bachelor's
I ain't gonna lie. UPenn doesn't seem that impressive. I don't know. I would expect like this should look like the lecture hall at my
in
uni.
computer engineering as well as his master's made it nearly 300
So
miles
he
from the
thought it was
supposed
me.
crime scene
Wait. I didn't make okay. The guy's a little weird, so he thought it was me.
but was still carrying the weapon used in the crime as well as his own manifesto.
Okay, so your friends were making fun of him for whatever, right? And then you were just there and they thought it was you, so then they ran at you.
There are many things that don't add up from this entire case. Why would this wealthy, educated man, in the prime of his life, not only commit murder, but do it in a way so wealthy, educated
Speaking of mochi, I think mochi is one of those things that niggas just do because it's a trend. Kind of like matcha. That shit is ass,
man, in the prime of his
personally.
life, not only commit murder, but do it in a way so sloppy that he got caught 3 days later with the murder weapon? I've seen several articles indicating that Luigi suffered from a spinal issue that somehow gives motive for the assassination
Matcha Fido. I haven't tried matcha. I feel like that shit is probably ass though, to be honest. But what does it make sense? The story or the Luigi shit?
of a healthcare CEO. But he had already had surgery to correct this issue, and it apparently was successful as he was posting on social media about his progress, and he
The
had money
story.
because not long after, he was backpacking through Asia having the time of his life. He had some other health problems, but he wasn't even a client of United Healthcare, and he himself
Yeah, I low-key don't think this nigga did it for the simple fact that I don't think they they didn't I don't think they had any other suspects for the crime. They say that he looks similar to the nigga that was on camera, but he's not like that's not really proof of anything. The guy's kind of weird. He's kind of known for that, and I'm not saying that because he's gay or anything. He's just genuinely weird. So he's like a crackhead or something, or like a homeless guy. But yeah, with Luigi, I feel like it's not this nigga because he literally has no reason to do it. I mean, he has a reason to do it apparently, but it's like I don't know.
was born into a family that could actually afford to pay any medical expenses. And although his parents believed he was living in San Francisco, in 2024, he was actually living in Honolulu, Hawaii. So from February to December, he went from Hawaii, Thailand to India,
kinda.
and by December 4th, he was in Midtown Manhattan. Even if the shooter found the location of the meeting, how would he know when Brian would be arriving? The police claimed that Luigi had checked out of the hostel he was staying in on the 3rd. Brian Thompson arrived in New York on the 2nd. So assuming the shooter
Eric
checked out of the
Adams.
hostel in the afternoon, was he tracking and following
know if he's
Thompson
homeless.
all night until the
So he's just weird.
shooting? The feds even state that they have a video of the shooter taken around 5 a.m. near the Frederick Douglass housing complex on the Upper West Side. This is about 3 miles from the Hilton Hotel where Brian will be headed. I also noticed that the death of Brian
Yo,
Thompson
have any of y'all been to New York before? What is this shit?
near the Frederick Douglass housing complex on the Upper
Like,
West Side. This is
what is all of this for? I've always like I used to think it was scaffolding like for building and shit, but I don't. Is it for rain? Never. You never been to New
is
York?
about
Yeah.
3 miles from the Hilton Hotel where Brian will be headed. I also
He's
noticed that
just
the
a
death of
weirdo.
Brian Thompson actually dropped the company's approval rating and even its stock price. Not to mention, 5 months after the
You
shooting,
might go
the
for
head
next fashion
CEO
week
of
though.
United
Oh yeah, because you're trying to be a fashion. You're trying to go to fashion school. Damn, you must be
Healthcare, the
up.
one over Brian's company, stepped down. And this led to a former CEO
Wait, when is fashion week usually?
being reappointed with a $1 million salary and a $60 million bonus. And even stranger, at the time of his death, Brian Thompson, the new CEO, and other executives were about to be involved in a federal investigation because 2 senators and many more politicians called for the SEC to open an investigation for insider trading, something that could have gotten all of them up to 20 years in prison. And a federal investigation was opened against United Healthcare in the summer of 2025. But although
Like
suspicious,
February?
I haven't actually seen a link between this and the murder. Luigi was said to have been carrying around a fake ID, and it was under this
Are you still going to fashion
ID
school,
that he checked into
or
the
are you still planning to go
hostel in Manhattan. But
in the
if
Netherlands?
you're going to commit a crime like this, why walk around with anything that has your face on it? Regardless of your name, there are cameras all over New York City, so it's your face that will work against you in an investigation.
That's the thing. Fashion doesn't need to be expensive.
This is why I'm always so skeptical about things that become big in the news. He was paraded around like a Batman villain, and it was clear that the news and
next year.
authorities treated this
Yeah, that's what
murder
I'm
as if it
saying.
was more important
Are you still planning to go?
than every other murder in New York City that year. But let's assume for a minute that Luigi did it. And the manifesto was actually written by him, with his motive seemingly being American healthcare being more expensive than it is effective,
probably.
and that, quote, these parasites had it coming. Now, it was reported by multiple sources, including the New York Post and the Daily Mail, that Luigi had been upset with the way a sick relative had been treated by the medical insurance industry. But who was this relative? Mangione's family is huge. His grandfather on his father's side had 10 children, so on just one side of his family alone, he had 9 aunts and uncles, along with several cousins. And I've seen a few pictures of him floating around that would suggest he was an advocate for good healthcare. Maybe he didn't like the way one of his relatives was treated. My only question with that is, what relative wouldn't be able to afford medical insurance?
Yeah, that's the thing that they said, and it didn't really make sense because he would have been able to pay it anyway. So I don't see why the nigga be mad.
Assuming that's what the complaint was, allegedly, against the medical insurance industry. His father is said to still work in the family business, managing the family's huge real estate portfolio and elder care operations, while his mother is said to run her own boutique travel company.
Wait, are you flying out like Dolo or? I mean, I guess that's TMI.
So, was it a distant cousin? So distant that his family wouldn't help them financially?
Wait, speaking of that, hold on. Do y'all say TBH in real life? Because now it's been 2 people that I've talked to in real life that say TBH normally. And I don't get it. Is that a girl thing? It might be a girl thing. Never.
If so, why was his
Or not,
grievance
shit
against
works.
the CEO and not his family? The manifesto provides a clear motive, and the security footage is pretty damning. But the only explanation that will make sense as for why Luigi Mangione would commit such a crime is if he were an idiot. There is no debate that American healthcare is expensive and leaves a lot to be desired. But a wealthy kid potentially receiving a life sentence allegedly for a wrong that he has never personally felt because he has money doesn't change anything.
really need an
It would
invitation
just
for
be a
Fashion
waste
Week.
of 2 lives. Healthcare is still the same, and after Brian's death, a new CEO got a huge payday, something that the manifesto seemed to
It's
speak
murder, pretty
against.
much. What do you really do like for Fashion Week though? You've never said TBH IRL? That's what I'm saying. I think it's probably a girl thing. But yeah, as far as Fashion Week though, like I know there's like the main like big ticket runways and shit. But what goes on outside of that? Because I've never been in the fashion world for real. Flying out just for Fashion Week, there's dedication.
And
Yeah.
after reading the manifesto, I have to say, it does
Look
not
at
sound
fashion.
like
I
the
know, but like, are there other smaller runways or I just don't know what goes on.
writings of an educated man. It was only a 3-paragraph ramble about the crime being easy to commit because he worked in engineering and how healthcare executives have become too powerful. But is that really it? This just sounds like the writings of a teenager that recently Googled healthcare bad. Would a man this intelligent really be so careless as to still be in possession of the murder weapon and his own manifesto,
Fashion
essentially
Week often
carrying
includes people from many parts of the world or even in NYC just getting together for the pure interest of fashion? But okay, I hope you understand my line of questioning. Okay, but like where? Like okay, it's NYC, but it's not all in one convention center though. There are a bunch of runways, but which some are smaller and they're easy to get into. Okay, okay, that's what I'm saying.
a handwritten motive
So are you going to like network and shit?
in his bag. But if he still had it in Pennsylvania, does that mean he was carrying his own manifesto when the shooting occurred? This and the fake ID just don't seem consistent with the
Kendrick
guy
meets
who
a Fashion Week
graduated
and
Ivy
perform.
League
Okay, a big man. So that ass. I know this is like your brand to be a Kendrick Glazer, but I genuinely want to know when you hear something. When you hear something, does d- is Kendrick the first connection you make with everything? Genuinely, that's all you know about it. Like, and how do you know that Kendrick performed there? Like, I don't. My favorite rapper is Ken Carson. I don't know everywhere that nigga's performed. I just, yo, I've never seen this
with
level of
honors.
fandom
The
before. Like,
manifesto even says that he's working
it
alone.
really
But
blows
the
my
line
mind.
in the manifesto that says, to save you a lengthy investigation, makes it seem as if he wanted to be caught. But if so, why flee to Pennsylvania? It even states that the entire thing was self funded, further emphasizing that he was working alone, something that is not
Yes,
common
okay.
in a murder. Because the last thing a lone murderer will be worried about
You're
is
more
an
going because I'm
accomplice
really
that they
interested. I want
didn't
to see other
have.
people's swag.
And to add even
I
more
feel that.
suspicion, a judge recently ruled that Luigi's right
February.
to a fair
Damn.
trial may have even been violated
I hope you have
because
fun with
Donald
that for
Trump
real.
pinned the murder on him, with 2 members of the Department of Justice publicly agreeing with this statement, condemning Luigi
I'm the
before
biggest
his
laser.
trial, when you're supposed to be innocent until proven
And a
guilty.
lot. Of
I've
course, I
tried to
want to go
find a
to
link
New
between
York.
Luigi's family
Two
and the
birds with one
healthcare
stone.
CEO or United
Preach,
Healthcare at
preach.
all because I thought, well, his family is big in healthcare. He has a cousin that works in Maryland government, and even though the headquarters for United Healthcare is in Minnesota, their investors meet on the East Coast. So I even hypothesized that Luigi might have known one of the investors who could have possibly given him the location, assuming that he was the one that committed the crime. But I could find nothing to suggest that any of this was true. If anything, just let this video be a reminder that when something is this publicized, there's a good chance that we're not getting the entire story.
This isn't funny. That's so crazy that's like niggas can dead ass see him
A narrative
getting
was
clipped.
shoved down our throats that this is the guy that did
And it's wait, hold on.
the entire story. That any of
Someone
this was
like
true.
didn't someone just drive by
If
here?
anything, just let this video be a reminder that when something is this publicized, there's a good chance that we're not getting the entire story.
Like, was it really that empty that he could do that in the morning?
Narrative was shoved down our throats that this is the guy that did it and he's guilty, even though this has to be one of the fastest murders solved in recent New York history. There have been plenty of murders in New York City that didn't have this much attention from law enforcement or the federal government. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.
Love that. Trap University. If you fuck with the video, you know what to do, bruh. Like and subscribe, bro. We going to 1K. We going Cloud9 on niggas.